a battle of the big boys this weekend. O2 Arena. Joe Joyce takes on Derek Chisora. I'm going to be very honest. I know this fight's on talkSPORT, so I should be pushing it and promoting it and saying how much I love it and how much I'm interested in it. But it's not the case. It's not the case at all. I'm a big Chisora fan. He's entertained me for so many years, as he has for so many of the listeners, or if you're watching little clips of this on YouTube, the viewers. He doesn't need to entertain me anymore. It's okay, Derek. You've done your duty to British boxing, and I fear for him a little in this fight. Not that he could lose. I just fear for the punishment that he might take. Same could be said of Joe Joyce. But Joe didn't look great in his last fight against Cash Ali, and you do wonder how much those Zhang fights have taken out of him, and all the fights in the past where he's been, the guy that you couldn't detonate. He can be detonated now. So this fight for both men scares me a little bit. But look, it's boxing. They can both put bums on seats. A few thousand will turn up at the O2 Arena. I can understand why it's happening, but I'm not a fan of it.
Look, let me put some meat on the bones from what you're saying. Derek Chisora's 41 in December. This is his 48th fight. He's got a very rugged style and always has done. Joe Joyce is 39 in September. So what you've got is two 40-year-old heavyweights fighting, really. And apart from the likes of George Foreman, there haven't been many great heavyweights around the age of 40. Now, it's a lose-lose for Joe Joyce because he's expected to win handily in many ways. And I want him to get a stoppage. He needs optics. He needs the optics in this fight to get back in the big-time mix, and that's what they must be looking at. If he loses, he's finished. The two fights against Zhili Zhang definitely took something out of him. That left hand, sly and unseen, that Zhili Zhang uses to great effect, hurt him in both those contests. One to close the eye, and secondly, in the second fight, to stop him. And it's a shame because when you look at the Joe Joyce that knocked out Joseph Parker, we were live there for talkSPORT. Brilliant fight, brilliant denouement. The Joe Joyce that busted up the eye of Daniel Dubois with a jab all night long and made him genuflect and surrender on that night. But look where Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois are now. Flying high, literally. One defending the IBF title against Anthony Joshua, that's Daniel Dubois, and one, everyone complaining that Joseph Parker deserves a world title shot, which he's going to get next year at some point, I believe. So it's a difficult one. I mean, look, I'm presenting it on Saturday night for talkSPORT. I'm really looking forward to being there. It's a great little card, and not even that little card. There's the potential for Joe Joyce and Derek Chisora to produce a hell of a lot of drama. We know what Derek brings, but I think Joe Joyce needs to go out there and really do a number on Derek Chisora. I'm not saying I want that to happen to Derek, but he needs to do it for his career more than anyone else in the heavyweight division right now. Because like you said, he slumbered and really didn't look like he believed fully in himself against Cash Ali, and that worries me. I spoke to Johnny Fisher about him, who was in the studio on Saturday night, Addy, and he was saying that Joe's been working with a psych coach, which I'm pleased about. So he's compartmentalizing things after those two losses to Zhang, difficult losses. So he's got to come out and really produce. Will he move his head a lot? Probably not. Will he be a moving target? Probably not. So he's going to get hit by Chisora. And as you say, you just wonder how long both of these men should go on.
Yeah. And look, I understand what you mean when you say Joe needs the knockout, because Joe is the easiest sell when it comes to making more big fights, just because of those previous fights against Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois. And you can also sell the fact, he lost to Zhili Zhang, but Zhili Zhang is a top 6, top 7 heavyweight, so there's no shame in it. So you're right, this is all about Joe. We know where Chisora is. Obviously, I think I speak for a lot of fight fans listening right now that want to see Chisora retire, but Chisora will pick when he retires. But look, I'm intrigued because I think it's going to be carnage for a few rounds. It's just when and you know this, when you are around fighters and you start to get a relationship with them, you just don't like to see them take this kind of punishment
It's
that you
called
know both men
empathy.
are going to take. Yeah.
It's called empathy, and you should have empathy. It's one of the great qualities we ought to have.
Mm,
Michael Calvin, the great former chief sports writer of The Telegraph, told me many years ago when I was a cub writer, or not a cub writer, but I hadn't been in the game too long. He said to me, I really like the fact you have empathy for all the sports people you cover, because without empathy, you don't make those people human. You're not, obviously we can't feel how they feel, but we've got to have empathy for these guys. Joe Joyce, like you said, and I agree with you, you can only go to the cash register so many times and take out the cash, and it's going to be empty in the end. Maybe he has emptied the cash register with all the
maybe.
punches on the chin, and maybe he isn't there anymore. I mean, very, very prominent critics on the sport have said to me they don't want to see him fight again, that he shouldn't even be fighting. Never mind Derek, Joe shouldn't be fighting anymore.
Jeez.
So I just hope he can prove that he's got a couple of big fights left in him. Otherwise, if he wants to go on and he doesn't win against Derek and he doesn't look convincing, he's going to end up as a gatekeeper fight for Fabio Wardley and Fraser Clark and Moses Itauma and maybe even Johnny Fisher
Yeah.
in the end. And I don't want to see him there particularly because he's ahead of the game with those guys. As I say, go forward 2 years, but go back 2 years and look what we were saying about Joe Joyce.
It's crazy. You go back 2 years, and Joe Joyce was people wanting to see him fight Wilder.
Yeah.
That was the fight that make that fight, because that's going to be a car crash.
You were salivating at the prospect of it.
Yeah, people were saying that Joe Joyce would beat AJ.
Yeah.
Again, boxing is a crazy sport, but Joe, one thing he's never had on his hands is time. He's always been an elder fighter because obviously he turned pro so late, and he's been chasing the big fights. And here we are now, him versus Chisora. Look, I hope for his sake he can get the job done, and I also hope that that's the end of Chisora. And I feel like I'm going to be wrong with one or two of those things. So
you're probably going to be wrong about all of it. You normally are.
Probably. Moses Itauma fights Marius Vac on the undercard of that, which is a bit of an intriguing one. Vac, a monster of a man, almost a gatekeeper for the last 10 years now, if not longer. Moses Itauma should get the job done, but he might struggle to kind of put Vac away. We'll see. It'll be interesting if he can knock out Vac early. It's a bit of a statement, but it's good to see Moses Itauma sort of getting a run out again very quickly.
Well, talking about 40-year-old heavyweights, he's 44 and 45 in December, and this is his 49th fight. And he's already lost to Vladimir Klitschko, unanimous decision. That was
the world title fight, wasn't it? That's when
12 years ago. That was his big moment, 12 years ago. Alexander Povetkin, TKO in the 12th. Jarrell Miller, TKO in the 9th. Artur Spilka, split decision. Martin Bakole, TKO in the 8th. Dillian White, unanimous decision in 10. Huey Fury, unanimous decision in 10. Arslanbek Makhmudov, knockout in the 6th. Kevin Lorena, unanimous decision in the 10th. And Fraser Clark, points, 10 rounds. York Hall Beth agree with.
That's why I say if Moses Itauma can get the job done early, when you look at some of those names, and no one's knocking him out quick. He's pushing a few of the guys. If you can get the job done early, if you're Moses, that's a statement.
Exactly. That's why I read those out. That's the resume, right? He's 6'6". He's got an incredibly big head. It's like a giant brick. It's like a breeze block, his head.
Yeah.
He's stayed in shape. I think you're right. And that's why I was reading out that list. This is an opportunity for spiteful southpaw Moses Itauma, young enough to be his grandson. He's 19 still, remember. 9-0 with 7 knockouts, to go in there and make a statement in 4 or 5 rounds and stop this guy. And I'm putting head on the block. He's going to do it.
Yeah, I think he's going to do it as well. But look, should be an entertaining night of boxing. It always is at the O2 Arena. Again, talkSPORT will be there. I might go there as well, actually. Might as well. It's not too far from the house. Go and watch some boxing at the O2 Arena.